Yeah, West Ham's 2-0 defeat to Forest at the weekend means the Hammers are currently 8th. Yes, 8th in the Premier League table. But that still led to more calls for David Moyes to leave. West Ham, of course, won the Europa Conference League last season, their first European trophy for 43 years. They finished 6th and 7th in the Premier League. You're listening, Hammers fans? 6th and 7th in the Premier League and reached the Europa League semi-finals under Moyes last season. They are still, of course, in Europe this season as well. West Ham fans, let's hear from you. Why isn't another run in Europe and currently 8th in the league enough for you? 03717 223344 is the number to call. Joining us now, though, to look back on this weekend's defeat to Forest is Nicky Hawkins from West Ham TV. Morning, Nicky.
Nicky.
Good morning, Jeff.
Look, Nicky, David Moyes, he's come out and he's stood up for himself and he said West Ham, under him, West Ham in his reign, have given West Ham fans as good a time as they have ever had supporting West Ham. Is he right?
He's not wrong, but let me just correct you there, Jeff. We're 9th in the table. We're not 8th, we're 9th. We're sitting 9th in the table. We were 6th just 3 weeks ago. So,
what a catastrophe. Where do you want to be? You're a West Ham fan. I mean, you're not going to be top 4.
I want to be where we were. That's 6th. And, you said yourself we finished 6th, 7th. Last season, 14th or 13th, something like that. This season, we're slipping down the table.
A couple of weeks' time, you could be 6th.
Really?
Yeah, well, of
In a
course.
couple of weeks' time, we could be 12th.
Well, that's called football.
Yeah, it is football. Do you know what, Jeff? I'm not seeing football at West Ham at the moment. I'm seeing a game of Subutio because as soon as we pass that halfway line, it's like one player can move at a time. It's Jeff. Listen, I'll get you a ticket to West Ham. Come and have a look at what we're seeing. If you go over there for 2-3 games, you'll know exactly what some of us are talking about. He's not wrong.
What would you? Sorry, Nicky. What would you rather have? Would you rather have your side playing free-flowing, fluent football and struggling for survival in the Premier League, or be where you are now, top half of the table, still in Europe? European winners.
Jeff, why does that have to be exclusive? Why do we have to sacrifice free-flowing football but slip down the table?
Now, Nick, I just want to ask you a question because this gets aimed at everybody who works in media. Regularly get messages coming from West Ham fans that they accuse myself and many others of not watching West Ham. And I've watched a lot of games and I totally get what you mean. You do always get behind the ball and there's always a possession argument, but West Ham don't have as much possession as they should do for a team, especially at home. So it's a fine line because we will look at a bit more pragmatically, as in, look, you are above halfway in the table. You can't really compete with the very top teams, even though you've got a 60,000 capacity stadium. Are we wrong to... I mean, I'm not David Moyes' friend. I've got no allegiance to David Moyes. I just feel, if I look at it, I keep thinking, well, what, is it only about entertainment?
No, I don't think it's about entertainment. You've got to look at it, from our point of view. I mean, I'm not a Moyes hater, and I've said that so many times. I'm not a Moyes hater at all. I think the guy deserves a lot of respect, and I think the guy's achievements with West Ham need to be applauded. He took us from, a relegation threatened team, which is true when he came back in. And then, we finished 6th, 7th. Look, the league wasn't great last year. We won the European trophy, which is great. But what do I want to see under David Moyes? After 4 years, I want to see some sort of progress. And I'm not seeing progress at the minute. Look, he approaches games in the same way, whether you're playing Brighton, Arsenal, Liverpool, or Crystal Palace. He sticks 8 men behind the ball and wants to play a long ball and hope the two forwards or the 3 forwards when Paquetá's back can create a bit of magic and score us goals. And for you've got to be crazy to look at that side. And when you look at the way we approach games with 8 men behind the ball, and then you're shipping 5s, 6s, 4s, 2 at the weekend, which, listen, I was at the Forest game. That could have been easily another 6. Ariola had a fantastic game. And, if people like Alanga could finish, we would have been on the end of another hiding.
Nick, can I just ask you this?
But Tony, why are we approaching games like that? Look, Why go defensive? We can't defend.
No,
we're all over the shop. We can't defend. We're shipping goals left, right, and centre.
It's been a difficult start to 2024 for West Ham, that's for sure. Now, the division at the club. Now, where are we with West Ham fans? In your opinion, is it a 50-50 or do you think it's more heavily weighted for more Moyes out than in?
I think it's, to be honest, after the weekend, I was in the stand. It's shifting. It's shifting towards more out than in now. I think it was 50-50. There are, people on both sides that, they won't shift their position no matter what. If you're Moyes in, you're Moyes in. For some people, and if you're Moyes out, you're Moyes out. And you always have been. I approach it with a more, open point of view. In fact, look, you can't argue when it's working. You can't argue when it's working and you're winning games. But when you stop winning games and you're still approaching games the same way, and we said this a lot last season, it's the definition of insanity. If you keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's what he does. Listen, David Moyes could have walked in the summer, slapped a team talk on the table in the first game, left it on the table and said, all right, boys, I'll see you next summer. Because that is basically what you're getting with him. He doesn't change anything. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what to change. He doesn't have the personnel. He's also stripped the squad of any sort of depth, any quality depth. He spent £450 million. We have some very good players, but we also have an aging squad. And then you spend £450 million. You're buying people like Skamaka, who's at a good age, and then moving him on. Haller, who's had a stellar career, he moved him on. We're playing 34-year-old Mikel Antonio out front.
Nicky, I just got to jump in quickly because you're talking about the players you're playing. Calvin Phillips, give us a quick assessment. What do you think of the fact that he's had such a disastrous start to his career there?
I think he's been unlucky, Jeff. I really do. I don't think Calvin's a bad player at all. But unfortunately, we get him at a point where he hasn't played football in such a long time, in terms of like regular football. And he's showing a bit of ring. Look, he gave the ball away in the 2 games he played, which led to a goal. And then he's got sent off. I could see Calvin was enthusiastic on Saturday. I could see he wanted to try his hardest. And, I think he got a bit over-enthusiastic. I think Calvin's the wrong player at the wrong time for us.
Okay.
We needed forward players. We needed, backups in the forward positions. And we get Calvin at a time where he hasn't played football. Are we ever going to see the best of Calvin if the loan deal ends at the end of the season?
Nicky,
4 or 5 games?
I'm going to get shot if we don't get the commercial break soon, but thanks very much indeed for calling us. Look, 2 sides of the coin here, just very, very briefly. Danny says, Hammer's calling for Moyes' head epitomises the entitlement and delusions of grandeur of football fans. Every other club can see they're punching above their weight. Simmer down and get real. And another one here, can somebody tell these two, that's you and me, Kaz, we haven't won a game since the 28th of December. That was 8 weeks ago. I was aware of that. And by the way, before that, you won 9 out of 12, the 9th of those being that 2-0 away win at Arsenal.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.